you very much. Dear Madam President of Croatia, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Last year, many of our conversations were about whether the world has changed for good or if we are just going through a bad moment. Whether it was a storm or a complete climate change. This year, the trouble continues. Ukraine, our neighbor, remains wounded. More lives have been lost to terrorism in Paris, Istanbul, Middle East, African countries, or recently in Brussels. The basic international norms are still being violated. And the number of people in need leaving their homes in search for a better life is still huge. And yet, even the world outside continues to be a dangerous place. I want to speak about something else. Something we may not fully comprehend yet. I think we have to take a deep and honest look at what's going on in our very own societies. Not just in Slovakia, but in other decent democracies of Western part of the world as well. The picture we are getting these days from our societies is somehow baffling. We have modern tools to communicate, the best ones in our history. And yet, we sometimes fail to deliver a message. Years after the Cold War, we are facing the new wave of political propaganda and information wars so intense and efficient that they again have the power to manipulate the mood in our societies or even cripple important political outcomes and as a result to weaken our security. We can see disturbing signals about the depth of this challenge. The word decent becomes symbol of weakness, and the word extreme a symbol of strength. Extreme political parties and movements are getting stronger in many countries. Even the mainstream politicians can't resist to retreat or even echo the language of simple, popular, but wrong solutions. And on the other hand, moderate, value-based politics is often seen as weak, old-fashioned, and not fancy enough in the face of calls to tear down the walls of the existing system. The pressure to undermine and dismiss our core values and principles, the building blocks of our societies, is growing. The level of this threat may not be the same across all our countries, because the strength and foundations of the open societies are not the same across all our countries. But one thing is common to all of us. The pressure is fed by the information wars, but also by our own inefficiency to explain and to deliver solutions for our domestic and global problems. We cannot act as if the history has ended, because this is not the first time when liberal democratic societies are under the pressure. The previous century taught us how such mistakes can lead to dangerous outcome. We can't take our values and principles for granted. I understand that we are busy with the high politics, strategic challenges, and the complexity of everyday tasks we have to face. But those issues are connected. In fact, It is the values and the principles that are the ultimate target of the propaganda, encouraging ghosts from dark corners of our societies, extremism, xenophobia, and general suspicion against democracy. Our values and principles are not self-explanatory. It would be a mistake to fall under this illusion and to forget to talk about them at all. We will not be able to counter hoaxes and misinformation if we abandon the ambition to calibrate the moral compass of our societies. The answer to boiling anger cannot be cowardly silence. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not talking about the importance of values and principles to give some abstract moral lesson. I just want to underline how important it is to halt this slow erosion of trust in our societies, because it leads to serious political and security consequences. Here in this room, we all know we had a lot to digest in the previous years, and still a lot to face. Financial crisis, risk of Brexit, Ukraine, refugee crisis, terrorism, risk of Brexit. Tackling these issues takes time, will, and ability to compromise. Sometimes we simply have to try to come up with something only to learn from our mistakes afterwards. But we also understand that democratic societies are in fact best equipped to handle a benefit from this creative process of solution seeking. That's why we are living in the most prosperous and safe part of the world. But honestly, I can understand why part of our societies perceives these recent events as seemingly endless queue of troubles and failures. So things like the results of last week's referendum in Netherlands shouldn't surprise us. But this should not be a reason to give up on searching for common solutions. Because if we give up, if we fail to fight with skepticism, extremism, nationalism, we may get caught in a loop of damage control, rushed plans B, plans C, plans D, and face the fact that we will repeatedly hit the wall of distrusting public in one or another country. So, we should spare no opportunity to remind ourselves of the irreplaceable role of the EU on NATO, our unity and stability, to speak frankly about our security and challenges we face, to explain to the young ones why we have no better alternatives to freedom and democracy, to understand the value of solidarity and unity, to stress the importance of being able to compromise, but also to remain principled when necessary. To show here, in this region, that the V4 is about empathy and cooperation, and that we can't ever abandon our humanity, no matter what difficulties we face. So, I wish you all the best when you discuss how to improve cooperation, intelligence, or enhance the NATO presence. But let's keep in mind, we are only strong if we manage to remain healthy in the core of our societies, in the hearts and minds of our people. Because the strongest foundation of our safety and defense is when people understand there is a lot to lose and a lot worth defending. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you very much for this excellent opening, setting the stage. And let me wish our participants good conference, and let me walk you out.